Welcome back to another edition of Doggin It. I'm Molina Mike, and I'm joined here with one of the many storylines of the U.S. Open and Tyler Styer. Tyler, how are you?
Good yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you making time. I've been blowing up Tyler since I want to say either around the World Games or around the team games, but I'm glad we got you on finally, and it was actually at the perfect time. I want to just start real quick, Tyler, with the team games. What was that experience like for you? You've represented your country a few times, but this was a little different.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. Really liked what Predator did there. You're talking about the world teams, right? In
Yeah,
Austria?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Um, yeah, it was definitely different. Um, I got a lot of there's some controversy when I chose Joey as a teammate. Um, but I think he showed everybody at the US Open why I chose him. He wasn't really proven until that point. Obviously our top junior player, but a lot of people thought he didn't have a reason to be there, but I did. A lot of players were at the Texas Open too. Of course, you got Shane and Sky and Oscar, and some of the players couldn't make it. Um, so it's not like my choices were super limited, but it's kind of like in baseball, they have a farm system bringing up the younger players, and I felt that that was a really good opportunity for Joey to kind of get some international seasoning and be a part of a team, um, this pool event that he's never had before.
He's got a bright future. I got the privilege of meeting Joey in Sacramento at Hard Times, at Oscar's place, and that was I had heard the name a lot, of course, just because of his successes in juniors, but I didn't know who Joey was as a person, and that was one thing that impressed me the most. Like, I loved his pool game, don't get me wrong, but Joey Tate as a human being, I couldn't help but be a fan of.
He is a great, great kid, and
Yeah.
obviously skill is a requirement, to be in the World Teams Championship. But his character is definitely one of the points why I chose him. And I knew he didn't have much experience on the slippery table before,
No.
and I'm a player that I really enjoy it. I like the way the slippery table plays, so I knew I could teach him how to do it. So I had him over at the house for a week. He can't fly internationally by himself anyways because he's only 17. So we had to fly out
Is that,
together.
is that right?
So I was like his guardian while we were traveling, right? I said, dude, come out to the house for a week. We'll fly to Chicago. And I said, I'll teach you how to play on this slippery table because you're never it's gonna be something you've never seen before. And he goes, is that different? I said, dude, you got no idea. And so I taught him and had him do a couple exercises, and his cue ball was all over the place. And I said, hold the cue this way and kind of strike it like this. And he goes, wow, this is insane. And then he obviously learned from it because he played really well on the stream table at the US Open. So I'm really proud of him so far. He's doing great.
Well, he showed some heart there and some he not promise there at the teams. You guys were in a tough spot though, if I remember. Like walk the people at home what happened because if memory serves me correct,
Yeah.
there was one cue between three players.
Yeah. I mean, Joey and I traveled together, but his bag didn't get there and mine did. So, and obviously he's sponsored by P Shower. So he's using a completely different brand of cue.
Wow.
And same with April. April's cues didn't get there. She had, I think, 2 or 3 layovers on the way over to Austria. And right now, if you're traveling international, you need a 3 hour layover. If you don't have a 3 hour layover, you better start sweating because you don't know if your bag's ready to get there or not. And
Oh,
like I said, my bag made it and Joey's didn't, and we were on the same flight. Um, but yeah, that was tough, and um, they got used to it pretty quick. I mean, Predator stuff plays really well, and there was just a couple deflection shots, slow roll with spin, stuff like that. But they adjusted really, really well. So I was really happy with them. It's not like I'm one of the co-brothers and I play with a high deflection Southwest. You know what I mean? Or
they make
you
it
know what I
work though.
mean? So
Yeah.
low deflection. I mean, there's different grades of low deflection, but they got used to it pretty quick. Um, and I was just so proud of them because they really came through. And yeah, I mean, Joey was a little bit disappointed because he went all the way over there, and every match he played had to be a doubles match, right? And it was hard on me because I know he wanted to play a singles match, um, But for the the betterment of the team, I think it was best for myself to play the first and fourth match, right, and him to play doubles with April. Like Jason Shaw is not going to let Darren play a singles match, even though Darren's a 5-time world champion.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I actually put myself under a lot of heat when we played Switzerland. Ronald Regley beat me the first set 4-0, and then I'm down 2-0 the second set, our second set, so the fourth set. And I'm like, listen, I just talked to Joey about this last night. I can't have that talk with him and then go lose, like this. And I beat Regley 4 racks in a row, and we moved on to the next set. So that was big. I think that match that I played kind of made him understand why, okay, Tyler's got to play the singles. It kind of gives us the best chance to get as far as we can in the tournament. And then the Germans played well, to take us out.
They got some monster players, but you actually had some experience with the Germans, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. Just circling back real quick to the teams. What did you think about the format versus the Pro Beard Series? Because I was a fan of the way that team format was. Myself,
I liked it a lot because the only tough part was it puts a lot of weight on your women's player. Like if your women's player from your country can't run out, the boys are kind of in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thankfully, we have April. April's a freaking stud. You know what I mean? She goes out there and just takes care of business. But some of the teams there, some of the countries were, you could just tell that it's tough on them because the format has a lot to do with your woman player playing a singles and a doubles, and usually the doubles match is supposed to be with your second best male player. So it's I personally liked it a lot, but I loved our team. We had great chemistry and we played well together. We all got along. April just did her thing, and Joey was along for the ride. He was tickled pink to be there, but also showed up and played well. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Joey's got that great balance, just from a personal standpoint, and just seeing his progress from when he first shows up and you're teaching him about the slick table and the slide, to seeing him at the teams, but then what he did at the US Open. What was that like for you, watching him going through that progress but seeing that success as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I had to apologize to my opponent after my match because I felt a little disrespectful. I was playing my first round match, and Joey was playing his at the same time, and I had like a 5-2 or 6-2 lead, and I was pretty comfortable. And in between games, I was over there watching Joey on the big screen, and waiting for the ref to rack the balls, but I couldn't help myself. I had to go over there and see how the little guy was doing. And then all I saw was his cue go up in the air like this. Right. And we all know what happened after that. And right when I saw his cue go up and I saw Shane jump out of his chair, I was like, man, he shot the wrong ball. I knew right away what happened. Like I just knew, and I felt so bad because the table was open. I couldn't see the screen from there because the table next to me was still playing that game. So I was actually just trying to watch the table over the crowd. But when I saw Shane jump up, because Shane did that to me one time. We were in a bar table 8-ball tournament, and if you scratched on the break, it was ball in hand behind the line. Well, I was like 17 or 18. It's my first pro tournament that I played, and I took ball in hand and I shot a solid or stripe from the middle of the table. Shane jumped out of the chair just like he did against Joey and called a foul, and I was like, oh no. And I was on Pool Action TV, same scenario, stream table. Shane called the foul on me, but listen, it's not his job to babysit us.
That's what I was going to ask you.
We're supposed to know the rules. So all my opponents, you better not do it to me, because I'm going to do the same thing. Like if the perfect analogy I heard was, if Tiger Woods pulls out a 7-iron instead of a 9-iron, are you going to tell him when he chose the wrong club? Absolutely not. Right? So it's just the way it is. You're not going to coach your opponents. So maybe at leagues, maybe at a local tournament when you're having fun. But at the US Open, this is what we do for a living. So
there's a lot on the line for a lot of you guys, but it really put Joey on the map. And you know him the way you do, and me getting to meet him and spend some time with him. I took some moral victories from that for Joey, and I was glad to see him, step into that spotlight and not let it just drown him. You know, he had a lot of poise throughout that match and a lot of positive things to take away from it. And that's one thing with Joey is just how positive he really is.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't see his next match with Christina, but I know she got him pretty good. I don't know if it was still in his mind or what, because they were on TV table too. But I'm gonna
How
go
could it
back to
not be
watch the
though?
match. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Your mind is just kind of like, scrambled for, a few days after something like that happens against probably someone that he's idoled his whole life. So it is what it is, and he's only gonna be a better player because of it.
Well, let's transition over to the U.S. Open, and I
Sure.
want to talk about first of all that match with Shane because you were what was it, Tyler? It wasn't the final 64 because you guys were still in single in double
That
elimination
was
at
the
that
third
point.
match. That was the losers. That was like the third match to get into the final 64 on the winner side.
So
So
if you won it, you're on the win. You're through and you're done.
yeah,
So
right.
single elimination. What was going through your mind? Did you have any? What were your expectations realistically going into the match with Shane?
Listen, I'll tell you what. You can ask her. I told Margaret in the hotel. I said I'm ready because I'd never beaten Shane before, and just mentally, me too. I idolized him growing up.
Right.
Still do. I still look up to the guy. Watched all of his long races to 100 with Donnie Mills and Alex Pegulayan on tar. Darren Appleton. I've watched every single Shane match that there is on the internet. I promise. So when I play him, it's hard not to think about that, all the things that I've learned from him and
Right.
stuff. But when I was in the hotel, I told her, I said, "Listen, I'm ready." And then my goal was just stay aggressive the whole match. I think I missed a cross side. And then let's see, there was one other thing. He missed a bank and hooked me. I was down 3-0. He made a 9 on the break, but I was really down 6-0 until I had a shot on a 7 ball. And I twisted the 7 ball. I overcut it, went down 7-0. And I feel like I only made two mistakes. I missed the bank cross side and I twisted a 7 ball. So,
That's what Shane does.
yeah. And so, I mean, he deserves it. He's Shane. He is who he is. But that was his third match on that table in the tournament. And his cue ball was just on a string. And I feel like if that was both of our first matches of the tournament on that table, I feel like I got a better shot. But he had the breakdown. His cue ball was on a string. He was comfortable, and you could see it right away. So I think that had a lot to do with the match too. Like I say, if I play my first two matches there, and I play him in the third match, and it's his first, I have a slight advantage. So it's just about being comfortable and letting your game come out. Really, that's what separates a lot of these matches, especially in the first 2 or 3 rounds, I think.
Well, you made an interesting statement there. It's letting your game come out, and you've let your game come out a few times this year, putting yourself in good spots, not just at the U.S. Open, but circling back to the World Games. You had a tight match with Josh, and we know who Josh is in the pool world and the dominance that he's had over the last few years. Walk us through that match because you were up pretty big.
Yeah, so I was up 10-6 going to 11, and I had a long 6 ball, and I had to roll the pretty much. Where the 9 ball ends up after the break, right? Pretty much just sits there as if there's no gaps, right?
Right.
7 was it? I think the 7 was froze to the 9, and the only pocket the 7 went was the side. I made the long 6, but I hit it just a little bit too soft, and I back cut the 7, and I missed it. And after that, I didn't have a chance to win the match. I played a great safety at Hill,
I
and
heard.
he kicked the 1 ball on the side 100 miles an hour, and his cue ball was perfect, and he ran out.
I heard you
Um,
put him in dead jail because nobody was
yeah,
able to watch it, but I had a buddy of mine who was there, and so he's
yeah,
giving me he's giving me play by play. So I'm hearing it from like the 10 range, and I'm like, and I'm sweating, right? Just because of the excitement of the pool match in general.
yeah, right.
And and I'm hearing Tyler's got him in jail. And then
Yep.
it's like the pause in between, right? Because during the shot and the message coming through. And then he told me that and my stomach just sank.
And he kicked it so hard that the cue ball left the table after it hit the rail. Like he warped this ball. Like it was just, we're playing 9 ball. Let me smash this 1 ball as hard as I can. The 1 was in the middle of the table. It's not like the 1 was within 6 inches of the hole. Like he went into the side rail and just, dude, it was just meant to be, I guess. He punished me for not getting out of the other rack. But I got weird on the 6 ball, had to take a long shot on the 7, and I had to put my extension on my cue to reach it because I didn't like the short bridge with my hand on the table. So I bridged off the back rail and I put my extension on the back. And the extra weight of the cue, I thought the cue ball would travel a little further, and I came up a little short. And yeah, I still think about it every once in a while. Just especially in the World Games, it's one every 4 years. So I can't wait
And
to get back into that tournament and play again.
Josh goes on to win the event, so how can you not, right? Because then you would have, you're always going to go and wonder. But that's pool, and pool players are all like that. I've talked to dozens of guys who they remember the losses or those moments a lot more than they remember the sweet times as well. It's kind of it's very interesting because you can talk to someone from like 10 years ago. They'll tell you the layout of the 6 and the 7, where it was at, how far off the rail, what kind of English.
Yeah,
And I'm like, man, that was like in 2012. What are we talking about here? And they're dead
I'm one of
serious.
those. I'm one of those people where I hate to lose a lot more than I love to win. Don't get me wrong, I love to win, but I freaking hate to lose. So yeah, that one stung really bad. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me, Mike?
Hear me? I apologize. I was having some audio issues. Can you hear me,
No,
Tyler?
you're good. I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. Let us know in the chat if the audio is still coming through. My microphone came unplugged there for just a second. Yeah, no, it's very interesting how that works out for a lot of you guys. And it's kind of gross too because we've all been there except well, I say we've all been there. We've all been there on the pool table. We haven't been there at the world game at the world games.
Yeah.
Vying
And
for a world
there's a
championship
different
and single
pressure. Like
elimination.
there's a different pressure in the World Games. Single elimination. You train for a couple weeks, couple months for that. Once you know that you're on the team, and it's just like or you're represent your country. And dude, I'm telling you, it was nuts. But I was ready for it. Like, and here's the thing, like, is Josh one of the top, 3 players in the world? Absolutely. But I love playing him because he's enjoyable to watch. But who wouldn't want to test your skills against the best, right? So I don't feel like there's a reason to play tentative against those guys just because that's what you live for. You live to go, play the best in the world, and that's your time to let all the practice work on the table, come out into what you've been training for. So I enjoy playing Josh. I think I learn a lot playing him in shot selection. He's a lot smarter than people think. A lot of people think he gets lucky and he just shoots straight, but he just processes information really fast. And it looks like he's freewheeling, but he's really not. He thinks that fast.
There's a lot of talk leading into it. Saying why is Tyler representing Team USA out there, in singles when you got Shane and you got Sky.
Sure.
And it's hard to fade, but then you back it up with a performance like that. And you can take away 2 things. You can take away one, you were up 10-6 on the guy, or maybe that you came up short in the end, but you showed a lot of promise and a lot of fight against the best player in the world. I mean, a lot of people would say maybe him and Federer, but in that spot, you were in a really good position to come away with the win. And that's really all you ask for when you're playing a guy like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we all know that he's capable of playing in such a manner where you don't have a chance to win anyways. Right. So when you get to that chance where you can beat him, you got to take it. And I'll remember the shot, and I won't come up short again. I promise you that, whether I have an extension on my cue or not. So, but here's the thing: like, Josh has been playing Euro Tour since he's like 10.
Right.
Euro Tours, not like a JIC, not a little junior tournament in Germany. He's been playing Ralph Souquet and Oliver Ortman and Torsten when he was 10, dude. I didn't start playing pool until I was like 12 competitively. And he was playing Euro Tours at 10. And I think that's where the Euros have a bit of a cultural advantage over us because their juniors are playing, like Zelensky won the Euro Tour at 16. And no offense, but look at where our juniors are at 16. They're playing the JIC, which is great. It's a good start. Like, I love what they're doing with the JIC. We're just a little bit behind still. But here's the thing: when it comes to, like, people say we're underdogs and stuff in Moscone. Like, it's like the playoffs in baseball. Your regular season, record doesn't count in the playoffs. You start at 0-0. You know, the slate's clean. So I don't care how many tournaments they won throughout the year, or how well they're playing. When you get out there, races to 5, and you're just shooting at each other, you know, it's everything else prior to that season doesn't matter.
Well, you mentioned the Mosconi Cup, and uh, there was you were kind of, I don't want to say an afterthought this year, Tyler, but you weren't necessarily making any waves when it comes to rankings.
Mhm.
And then you come up a little short against Shane, 9-2. But then something kind of amazing happened, and I say amazing because it was a different match than what we've seen of you over the last couple of years. And that match with Federer, you
Sure.
showed all you. We all know the year that he's had. We all know the successes that he's had. It seems like you get up for these big guys. I remember, I don't know if it was 18 or 19, but that match with Niels was pretty pivotal early on in the Mosconi Cup. Whenever you take him down and get and take a massive point,
Yeah.
um, walk us through that match with Federer. What were you expecting? You know, and it was different, man. It was gritty.
Yeah. So with the rankings, I didn't play all the ranking events. So the expo was too short a notice for me. I had that weekend open, because I wasn't going to go to the expo. The payouts aren't,
It
you
was
know, I
last
just,
minute too.
yeah. So what I had a guy flying from Texas in to do coaching with me for 4 days, right? He had flights booked, he had hotel booked, everything. And then with like 4 weeks before the tournament, now it's a 9-ball tournament and it's a ranking event. Well, I'm not going to cancel on the guy. I gave him my word that that was an open weekend for me, and
Sure.
you know, I wasn't going to tell him, hey, we got to cancel, because I gave him dates. He picked one of them, and I was just going to roll with it. And then with Sandcastle, I I just don't think a 5,000 added event should be a ranking event, um, because you got to take second or third to break even on your expenses.
Right.
And I know we're playing for Moscone points, and you know, to go play for Team USA. But if you spend over 15,000 trying to make the team, and then you're only guaranteed 15,000, that's kind of tough. You know what I mean?
Of
So
course.
I think ranking tournaments should be at least 10,000 added. So I just wasn't going to support an event that wasn't at least 10,000 added. I think 5,000 added is I don't know. I just didn't agree with it. So I just decided I wasn't going to go to them. So I think I was like ninth or 10th in the ranking before the U.S. Open. So pretty much the whole year I was banking on making the team as a captain's pick. But I had done well, and in Germany, I went hill with Kazakis. He beat me. I beat Loisius. You know, he's won 2 or 3 tournaments this year. Oscar got me, but I have a hard time playing Oscars because he's such a nice guy. We're close friends. And I can talk about that a little bit. So, and
Let's.
Oscar might not want everybody knowing about this, but in 2018 we lived together in the summer of 2018, and I moved out there for this game in Vegas that ended up falling through. Oscar was involved too,
7 ball
and
run.
7-ball run, yeah. So that hit the floor. Bunch of drunk guys running that game. It was kind of a waste of all of our time. If they would have ran it the right way, I think it would have been pretty sweet. But anyways, Oscar took me under his wing, and I was driving Uber part time in Vegas at that time, and Oscar co-signed on a car for me just so I could do Uber on the side, so I could afford to go to the Moscone Cup boot camps. And then
Pretty
I ended
good.
up making the team over him. Now, Johan told me before he picked me, he said, "You're not taking Oscar's spot. You're my 4th pick." Right. And after the selection process was done, I didn't know he was picking Corey yet for his 5th. But when he picked Corey, he told me, he goes, "Corey made the team over Oscar, not you." But still, I was sick to my stomach, because if Oscar never would have helped me, I never would have been able to afford to go to the boot camps, and I never would have had that spot. So Oscar would have been on the team. So the hardest day of my life, one of the hardest days of my life, was I was at the Brendan Crockett Memorial Tournament in California. I was announced on Thursday. Corey was announced on Friday. And I was in Oscar's one of his home rooms down at what's the play on Q in San Diego. So the Moscone Cup team had just gotten picked. Corey was the 5th name. I was one of the 5, and I'm in Oscar's West Coast Mez tour, and that was the hardest day of my life. One of them, trying to play pool when every single person in that room hated my guts because I was on the team and Oscar wasn't. So that was tough for me because he did everything for me. I didn't even think I could make the team that year. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I got chosen for the final 8, I was like, oh, it's pretty sweet, right? And I was just trying to learn as much as I could. And then I got picked for the team, and I was like, wow, And yeah, Johan saw something on me. He had faith in me to help us out, right? That's the goal, is to just help the team win as much as I can. So when I play Oscar, like people ask, why don't you and Oscar gamble? That's why. One, we're friends, and I don't think we would let money get between our friendship. It happens sometimes, but that's why I'll never play Oscar, because without him, I don't even know where my career would be. So yeah, I can't thank him enough.
I got goosebumps, my man. Oscar's
Yeah,
a real good friend of mine, and him and Desiree are like family to me.
yes, he
And
is.
it's when he got announced this year was and being friends with him, the shit that he's had to go on and deal with over the years.
Yeah,
So to to see him finally, back on that picture was pretty special. And personally, I got super emotional finally seeing it because it was like it's
yeah.
about time.
And
I was real happy for my friend.
I was
Um,
too. I messaged him. I said, dude, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. He deserves it. He went to every single event. He's grinding his butt off. He's one of our top players, and he deserves it. He really does, as a human being and as a player. And I know he's gonna prepare the right way and fight his ass off.
well, you made a bit of a run making the case for your Mosconi Cup place this year, Tyler, and a lot would go and argue that you're hitting a gear at the right time. That match with Federer really kind of opened up people's eyes, and you followed that up with an amazing match against Filler, and we know you came up short there, but you were in it, I think, through around the 7 range, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Um, what do you think, if any? How important should your successes at the U.S. Open in those matches weigh on? Like, if you're taking, having some perspective on it, how much weight would you put on what you did at the U.S. Open?
Yeah, and I think I mean, I think people talk about my work ethic, and I don't think it's much different than others. I mean, we all work hard.
I think it is.
But I care a lot, man. I we can be. I'm sort of buddies with some of the Euros, but at the end of the day, like the Yankees and the Red Sox, they weren't really friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like when it comes down to that, we just want to gut them point blank. Like we just
yeah.
want to just rip their guts out, man. So yeah, I think I'd be a great addition to the team this year. Um, I'm I'm in stroke. I'm training hard. Um, and one thing that I wanted to brush up on was I've seen a couple people say that I'm inconsistent at times. And one of the reasons for that is in certain tournaments, I try shots that I might not be comfortable with. And what I mean by that is there's always things you're practicing on the practice table, right? But you can't just go from the practice table straight to a match table, right? You have to try those things you're practicing in other matches first. And Tiger Woods talks about that too, where in the Masters, he goes, I'm not going to ask myself to shoot a shot that I haven't done thousands of times before. But in like a smaller tournament, he will, in the Masters, I'd probably shoot it this way. But right now, I'm going to shoot it this way just to try and see if I have that shot in my bag yet. So lately, I've been trying to be a little more aggressive. Just because you watch the top players, the guys that, the top 10 players that are winning, your Shanes, Albans, Fetters, and Fillers, Naoki Oi. I mean, the top players, they're always shooting at their hole. There's certain times to duck, but in order to win nowadays, you just have to fire away. And I feel like earlier this year I made the decision that I was really going to commit to adding firepower to my game. You know, that first big shot after the break, cutting balls down the rail past the side pocket where normally you might play safe. These guys just aren't doing that anymore. They're just making balls and running out. So there's certain tournaments where I'm not going to say I just throw them away because I don't. I'm trying to win, but my shot selection might change based on the tournament that I'm playing in because I'm trying to grow my skill set. Um, and of course, it's about winning, but it's also about learning and trying new things on the way. So,
I
yeah,
would say, and there's a lot of people, I've heard this from Shane, says that you're the hardest working American right now, and that's a pretty big compliment coming from him. You know his work ethic.
yeah,
I think he's renowned for it. Um, but it paid off, in the U.S. Open and at the right time on a pretty big stage. You were a big underdog against Federer on paper, and you may not go and think it, but
sure,
with the year that he's had, and you're as much of a student of the game as anyone, But to go, and it wasn't like that 10-6 lead on filler that you let get away from you. It was the back and forth and the
yeah,
coming clutch when you needed to. You mentioned your aggressiveness. That was the first thing that I took away from watching both those matches. It was how aggressive you were, but it wasn't aggressive where you're sticking your neck out there to go and get bulldozed. You executed.
right.
And
It's not careless. It's calculated
exactly.
aggressiveness. Because, and
Yeah.
here's the reason why. Because I've shot those shots in previous tournaments. You know, if let's say I'm playing a weaker player, you know, in one of the Predator tours, or if I'm playing in, you know, the Hard Times tournament, you know, the Brendan Crocker Memorial. Like, if you have a lead on a player, you're like, you know, I usually play safe here, but someday I'm gonna have to make this shot against a top player. Like, I have to get comfortable with it, and you shoot it and analyze what happens and work on it because everybody knows your practice game and your competition game isn't always gonna be the same. So you have to really work those things up until they show, you know, on the big stage.
Should you be on the Moscone Cup this year?
I think so. Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
I tell you, I didn't think so before the U.S. Open though, and you made a hell of a statement out there. Those were big wins on a big stage, and that's exactly similar environment as far as the conditions, and it was massive, Tyler, at the biggest at the biggest of moments for you, man. You know,
Yeah. When I walked out the hotel, I told Margaret, I said, this might be a $15,000 match. Um, Now I had watched my matches in Germany, and
wait, you really said that? You're
yeah,
thinking that going into it?
yeah, and
Why? You're just putting more pressure on yourself.
see, that's good. That's good. So here's the thing: pressure you put on yourself, you should be putting more pressure on yourself than anybody can ever put on you. Because if you put more pressure on yourself than any pressure someone else puts on you isn't going to be big enough to jar you anyways. You see what I mean?
I got you.
So like, dude, pressure is a privilege. Like it's if you're put in a pressure situation, that means someone believes in you, right?
Yeah, I'm with
So
you.
yeah, not everybody gets to do that. So but yeah,
It's
I think personally this might just be me, but I think I should have been on the team before the U.S. Open, just because I mean I beat Aloysius, I went hill with Kazakis, I went hill with Filler, and I just don't see other American players doing that consistently. And it's unfortunate because I wish our guys would get out there and travel internationally more and play all the events, but we're just not seeing it right now.
well, but you also
So,
broke down the business of it, and you have to be financially responsible without any kind of support from a federation. There was a post from Emily
absolutely.
Duddy on Facebook about it. So I'm not going to go and criticize anyone for how they spend their money or how they see fit, how they go and run their family. You know,
Sure.
you
Right.
you you got a wife, you got a home. It's you gotta think about number one first. And I completely get it, because it's one thing to chase a dream. It's another thing where you don't want to be sleeping in the streets because of it. So you have to you have to figure out that balance for yourself. And I got nothing
Right.
but respect for that. Um, yeah, no, man, it was big congratulations for
Thank you.
what you achieved out there. Um, if you do get picked, what can they expect? from you out there this December?
I'm just I'm looking forward to whether I'm playing or not here in the U.S. crowd. Um, their 2019 was absolutely nuts, and I think it's going to be bigger this year. 3,000, right?
I think so because
I heard correctly.
it was at 25, and then she said she was adding more seats. And we're gonna have Emily on, I think, tomorrow in the morning, right around, I want to say like 10 o'clock Central Time. So if you guys are available, or if not, go check it out on YouTube or Facebook afterwards. But yeah, I'll make sure and follow up with her because I'm pretty sure she told me that they were going to be opening up some more seats. But this is different though, Tyler, because it's not the Tyler of 18 where you're wet behind the ears and everyone's out to go and get under your skin and see you crumble. Like
Yeah,
you've beaten big Europeans on big spots, not just in the Mosconi Cup, but you beat them, there at the U.S. Open. So it's different because now you're gonna have expectations. You know,
that's fine. That people can say whatever they want. I usually delete social media a week before Moscone anyways because
yeah.
it's just a distraction. So
Who said that? I think Max said the same thing, that Albin had given him that same advice.
yeah,
I think the last couple of
probably.
days. Yeah.
That's a mistake I made in 2018 was after the third day, everybody's saying like Tyler, they're you gotta get on here and see what they're saying. They're talking about, all the shots you've played. Yeah, I was so stupid. I opened up my Facebook and you just get consumed in it. And then I played terrible against Jason on day 4. So I leave my phone just as far out of sight as I can now, and just because nothing you're gonna read on there is gonna help you.
Yeah.
So it's and here's the thing, like if you don't win, someone else wins, and someone else is going to be them, right? If we don't come through. So um I don't sit well with that. Watching them celebrate on the table last year was tough. Confetti coming down and they're jumping up and down on the table and we're sitting there watching like, dude, can't take it, my man. Can't
It's
take it.
funny. You mentioned earlier about hating to win versus, or what was the line? You hate to win more than you love, or you hate to lose more than you love to win. And it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned that specific thing because I was there I just came back from Harlingen where Jason played Shane, and I was there around noon. The match didn't start till 7. Around 1 o'clock, Shane walks in and just relentless, man. The break over and over and over again. I went to
Yeah.
go pick up my daughter, grab some Starbucks, come back an hour later. This is after being there for like 2 or 3 hours, watching them. Didn't stop, over and over and over again. And I was
Yeah.
standing there, and whenever I'm there trying to do an interview on site or whatever, I try to be respectful when guys are practicing, so I don't want to like interrupt or, because I know and a lot of you guys are great. They'll sign autographs still and they'll take the photo, but I try to respect it. You're right. So I'm waiting till like I get a bit of a pause, and it was that question that I wanted to ask him. That exact question is what I was hoping at. And I'm
Yeah.
standing there with this thing and my phone, just waiting to hit record to go and get that answer from him. But I never did because I didn't want to go and interrupt him. And it's like after about 30 minutes or so, I changed where I'm standing, far away back to where I'm standing closer. So like the social cue tells you like, hey, I'm trying to get a second here.
He don't
Shane
care.
just no, he don't, he didn't care at
He
all. And I
he
respected it
turns
though.
he turns those ears down. He goes on his app on his phone, and he doesn't see anything but those pool balls. That's it.
What was
He
I
does
gonna go and do, man? I couldn't do anything.
no nothing,
So,
nothing.
so
There's
I
nothing you
didn't
can do.
I didn't want to interrupt him, but it's funny you go and brought up that specific line because
I
that was the
wanted to,
exact thing.
I want to talk about that match real quick. So I was watching day 1, and I was
Yeah.
watching how fast the cue ball was bouncing off the rails, and I could tell it was sticky in there. What am I wrong? Like it looked sticky. It
Dude,
looked the table looked bouncy.
we're on the
And
coast, man.
yeah,
Humidity's
so
thriving in there.
I go on Google Maps. I'm looking up and I'm like, holy shit. And you're not gonna believe it. At the US Open, I was just talking to Shane about playing in Florida. And he said Florida is one of the worst places in the world to play. It's hard to draw your cue ball and control everything, and the rails just play so bouncy. And I look at the map and I zoom out, he's further south than Orlando in the
Yeah.
southern tip of Texas. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I I hope that our conversation about it wasn't in his head. But those tables were playing just as goofy as tables in Orlando or Miami or wherever you'd be playing. Um, so yeah, he's further south than Orlando. So I hope our conversation wasn't in his head about I don't want to be here. The table play is bad. Yada yada yada.
I
So
think I mean the humidity is not to be understated down here. I mean I've grown up here my whole life, but I'd rather
mhm.
take it than to be freezing my ass off during winters. And it's a give and take though, you know, and that's just what I'm comfortable with personally.
Sure.
Um, I've seen Shane play a lot, and I've never really seen him that frustrated. And if anyone who says they were there, you know they made money and but they were gambling. But if you don't
Oh
think
yeah,
that guy that guy wanted to win, listen, I was there for hours and hours and hours watching him get frustrated trying to figure out that break because
yeah.
he just can't stand that he couldn't go and crack it. I mean,
Well, he can't stand losing to Jason either.
that's a
You
big
know?
part of it as well, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I say if they flip the coin and go play in Vegas, same conditions, same pocket size, everything, I don't think Jason gets there personally because it's dry. The table's going to play consistent. It's not going to change too much, and I think he'll not run away with it, but I think he'll edge him out like he did in the 10 ball matches. But those conditions I feel were big favorite for Jason. Big favorite.
Well, Jason's living up in the East Coast too. You know, he's not like
No,
he's
just when it comes, I mean, Jason, he's going to just pocket balls from everywhere. Like your cue ball's not going to be on a string as much in those you're going to get some bad bounces or
yeah,
some skids or some thick hits, and the pockets are going to play a little bit tighter. And Jason we all know how he just fires balls in from everywhere. Where Shane's a little bit more calculated, he hits the balls a little more smooth. He worries about the break a lot, and Jason doesn't care where the balls stop. He just, oh, I can see it. I'm just going to fire at it. And he makes a lot of the balls that he fires at.
I
And
think that was it was that break, man, that really because
yeah,
Shane could always come back if he knows he's got the break. I remember that what was it like 9-1 down to Mika or whatever it was, 8-2 down
yeah,
when he ended up coming back at the World Championships. But when he's got the break in his pocket, then he's always got a chance, right? And I just felt
sure.
like he never was confident enough to know that even if Jason makes a mistake, he's not. I can't hit him with threes and fours and fives like I'm supposed to,
Right.
because I'll be lucky to get a shot after the break. And it was different. But I would love to go and see it again, and I'm sure at some point we will. I want to get you out of here on this. I want to talk about the team that's been picked so far for Team USA, and
Sure.
what can the fans go and expect from Oscar, Shane, and Sky this December, in your opinion?
I mean, a bunch of Bulldogs, man. Um, we've lost 2 years in a row now, and it's a bad taste we got to get out of our mouth ASAP. So I know we're all going to be working hard, and you know, I'm going to work hard whether I get picked or not. But we're going to work hard, and I know those three on the screen right now are going to, and especially Oscar. He showed me pictures of him doing drills right now. Not saying that Sky or Shane isn't, but I've been talking to Oscar the last couple of days, and he's been doing all these different drills that we used to do back in 2018 together. So he's getting souped up to go to Vietnam too.
Yeah,
So he's gonna go over there and mess those guys up, and then he's gonna come over here and do the same to the Euros.
that's exactly what he's told me in private too. And you're
Yep,
absolutely right. I think it's different this year. The fight that I've seen from a lot of these guys and yourself included, if I were to go and throw you in there, which I mean you haven't been announced yet, but I expect you to be part of that five. And the fight, that was the biggest thing, was the fight that you shown throughout the US Open and in those matchups, and not just with Federer and maybe having a letdown against Josh, but you showed some fight in there as well. And I think that's what the Americans are going to need this December.
sure.
And it
And I
makes
know it's a
for
race to five, but I beat
yeah.
Josh last year in the Moscone Cup. Like I don't know. I don't care who you are. Like I know like Josh's style can be intimidating, but if you keep him in his chair, he can't do nothing to you. You know what I mean? And he knows that. We all know that. So you just gotta just beat him. just put points on the board. That's it. And the more points you put on the board, the more pressure they feel. They're human. And when they feel like they're supposed to win, I feel like it puts more pressure on them. So as underdogs, if we play well, I think we can really make them shake a little bit. I mean, so that's a funny story. Last year in the Moscone, Shane's out there playing the last match, but I'm in the practice room and I was playing David Elkaty next if Shane were to pull through and win that match. And I'm listening to David hit balls because we got the curtains around our table, so we can't see each other, but we can hear him. And I'm just hearing him pepper balls into the rails. Like, dude, he was so nervous. I didn't even see his face, but I was just listening to him practice, and it was just like it sounded like he was practicing bank pool. So I felt like if I had the chance to go out there and play David last year, like I felt like I was just gonna go and just smoke him. You have to have that inner belief that you're gonna win, but just listen to him practice. I was like, okay, he's feeling it.
Hold on a second, because that's easy for the rahs and and when you're in there with the team, but you've done a good job at backing it up.
Sure.
That's the difference. And I firmly believe, like, in those spots where maybe you're an underdog, individually, when you go and come away with the W, it just motivates your guys that much more on the back end.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I feel like when everybody's playing well, it takes the pressure off the individual. Like when you have a good team and they're all working hard and they're putting their time in and they're in stroke, you feel like whether you make a mistake or not, your guys are going to pick you up. Or if they make a mistake, oh, I got you, don't worry. Right? So as a team, it takes pressure off the individual player when we all know that we're hitting the ball the right way and we're ready to go out there and win.
Well, listen, I appreciate you making time. I know you've had a hectic schedule. Hopefully we'll be talking more in the next few weeks, man. And again, congratulations for your success at the U.S. Open, and good luck with the Mosconi Cup path, my man.
Thanks, appreciate that. Waiting for a phone call, so hopefully I get it. Hopefully I get it.
I'll put Emily on the spot tomorrow. We'll see what's up, man.
All
Tyron,
right,
appreciate it, buddy.
sounds good.